Good morning, Deborah Vogue.
Thank you for your experience with the Brilliance-based Businesswoman Salon.
You're welcome.
So let's just go back to thinking back to when you decided to do the salon. What made you decide you wanted to participate in the salon?
That is a very good question. I actually love that question. It was so I had been planning an event, my first live event, um, that I'd been dreaming about for years, and it was called Into the Light, and I had put in months of work and done just invested my whole being into this, and then the hurricane happened and swept through New York, and it got canceled. And there were other things going on around the event that were really challenging for me anyway, so it getting canceled wasn't such a big deal in that it kind of gave me some breathing space. But where it left me was really unsure about what I was going to do next. Meaning, is this the business I wanted to be doing? Is this the life I wanted to be living? I was kind of, I felt like I was picked up and whirled around and dropped down and didn't. I felt really lost. And then you and I were actually just talking, and you sensed that piece of what I was experiencing and just said, I think it would be amazing for you to experience this. And the way you described the Brilliance Based Salon, I was like, yes, I must have that. It was just sort of like I don't know, like you toss something into the water, and I was grabbing onto it with the hope that, oh, maybe this will take me in a direction. And that's actually, I think, was a huge turning point for me in where I've gone since then. So I was kind of adrift and had come to the table with a lot of different ideas and passions and directions, but at that moment was feeling really overwhelmed and really lost.
So what I hear you saying is the big question on your mind then was, what do I want to be focusing my time on professionally going forward? Is that right?
Yeah, it was basically that. Where do I go from here? I know I have a lot of interests, but I'm not sure which is the direction I want to go in, and I don't know how to make that decision.
And share a little bit about your life for a minute. So you're an entrepreneur, and how long have you been an entrepreneur?
For over 12 years now, I've been running my own business.
And you're a mom.
I'm a mom. I've got a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
I have a husband who is great, and both of us are basically consultants, so neither of us has a steady, consistent income. So that's another challenge with creating a household of balance. And yeah.
And as long as I've known you, which is maybe 4 years now, I've always noticed you have a very focused desire to live your life on purpose. And I've been watching that evolve for you over time, which is really beautiful to watch. So tell me about being in the salon. What was that experience like for you?
First of all, I think you're a fantastic teacher. So having someone who's leading a group, who leads, to me, it's very interesting because you're both very powerful and very gentle. That's how I experience you. And so being in a group that's being led by a successful businesswoman who's also completely in tune with and open to other women and people, but really mostly women who are creating a level of balance in their lives and aren't sure how to get there, but who are bringing a lot to the table, was very reassuring and very helpful. It sort of felt like, okay, great, now someone who can relate to so much of what I'm going through is helping me see what the next possible steps are. So one piece of it was just you. Another piece of it was being in a community with other women who were seeking something very similar, obviously each in her own way, but being in a community is a lot easier than being alone and thinking that you're the only one going through this.
Yeah.
And there must be something wrong with me because everyone else is so good at figuring out their lives. What's wrong? And then you're in this community of people who are also smart and creative and passionate about what they're doing or what they want to do in their lives, but still trying to figure out their way to do it. Is bolstering. And it's also fun because you get to connect with other women who you never would have probably met, and that's energizing. I'll tell you the one more thing.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head is the structure. There's something about having, great, I've got about 7 weeks, right? 7 weeks ahead of me, where I've got a homework assignment that was not overwhelming. It was just bite sized enough that I could actually make time for it. And every single time, it's quite possible this is the only virtual course I've taken where I actually did the homework. So every single time I made the time, I listened to it, and every time I would listen to it just on my headphones, and whoever's around me would just look at me funny because they'd be like, "Oh, that's so smart." They don't know what I'm talking about, but it made sense, and it was so specific, and it put into a very clear order the things that I wanted to look at, pull out of myself, address, be honest about, be willing to say out loud, that I'd never done before in such a way.
Do you remember over the 7 modules, was there one that stuck out for you or you felt like gave you the biggest aha or the biggest jolt of clarity for you in terms of the questions that you came in with?
I think it was when I was able to say out loud, I'm not sure which module it was, but when I was able to say out loud, so you write a whole list of all the things that you do in your job or your work, and then you narrow down the ones you actually like to do as opposed to the ones you just happen to be good at. Like, huge bucket of water around my head. I'm like, oh my God, I've been running a business where I'm good at it, but the things that I most love are really way far down on the list. Like, that was a huge eye opener, and that led into this kind of scary place, which was, oh my God, is it possible to have a different kind of business where it's based on the things I love to do? So
it's Brilliance based.
Yeah. Oh my God, what a concept! So that was huge.
How do you look at yourself differently now after doing that work and after having the realization about refocusing your business around your brilliance? How do you see your time differently? How do you see your time with your family, your time on your business?
So it's funny because to me, I can't answer it. It's so not just about my business. The business, so you and I have done some additional work since the salon, which has really helped me hyper focus. And so between what I learned in the salon and what we did together, 2 major things have come out of it. One has been getting clear on these are the hours that I have available for my business, period. And I can change them by shifting something in my life. But if this is the life that I want to lead right now, when my kids are so young, meaning I want to spend a lot more time with them, what's available? And based on what's available, how can I realistically spend that time most effectively? What are the goals that make sense? And what are the things I need to back burner? And it's sort of bringing the whole picture together. So instead of me being off in La La Land, like, I'm going to work 40 hours a week and I'm going to make $500,000 and I'm going to spend 30 hours a week with my kids and always make home-cooked meals, like, that's a great fantasy. I'm not even such a great fantasy, frankly. But, it was a fantasy. And until I was grounded enough to say, okay, let's just look at what the week really looks like. And I do this for other people all the time, but I remember when we did it together, I was so exploding with joy that someone sat with me and did this with me. It made such a difference. So the day-to-day life is different, and the choices I make are different because I've made peace with myself around what I'm willing to do right now. And if I don't want to work 80 hours a week or 40 hours a week even, what can I expect as a result? So stop expecting results up here, which isn't to say they won't happen, but stop planning for them to be here. I only want to put in this much time right now. Make that peace, and suddenly the work that I'm doing here at this level is much more efficient and much more effective and much more directed, and the results actually get higher and higher with much greater ease than if I'm fighting down here to try and get up here. That's number one.
Okay.
I feel it's every day. And the other thing, which is kind of almost even more important to me, is I laugh because I forgot that when I have this is my unique definition of success. So when I go back and look at it, the very first word on there is writing. And I forgot that. And the other thing that came out of this work together was my going back to this dream that I had 10 years ago of writing. And the reason I started my entire business was to support my writing. But the thing that got pushed completely aside was my writing.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about personal writing, creative writing. And really, through the work that we've done, I've both on an emotional and a practical level, I now have made time to write again. And that has opened up an entire world for me. And what you keep insisting on, and that I finally believe you, is that if the writing isn't happening, nothing else is happening well.
Yeah.
And it's true. And it's like in the month, maybe month and a half since I started this very specific program we designed for my writing, my life has shifted. So the time I spend with my kids is amazing. My relationship with my husband, it's work, but there's a lot more going on there that's getting us to an authentic place, because I'm willing to be authentic about what I want. And the writing itself, it feeds me on this whole other level that I was like, I was subsisting for so long, and now I'm feasting. And it's not that it's so easy. It's still, I almost cursed, so I won't curse, but it's still effing hard to do some of that writing. But it brings me alive in a way that I hadn't been in a long time. And 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, I remembered that, oh yeah, I have a book agent from a book that I had written a long time ago, a nonfiction collaborative book. And I said, just on a whim, I emailed her. I said, oh, do you by any chance work with fiction authors, young adult authors? She said, sure, send me what you have. And I sent her my 25 pages that I'd been working on, and she loved it. So it's real. Like, this is actually the birth of a book that's been in my heart for over 10 years now. So anyway, that's what's happened.
Huge difference. And I want to underscore what you said about how I sort of have convinced you that the writing is the key. And even though the creative writing, the personal writing that you're doing is not your main revenue stream right now, that I could see it for you as a switch. And if you didn't flip that switch on by using your brilliance, using the writing, and you flip the switch up, then the other aspects of your life wouldn't light up. And I think that that's what you've seen. You flip the switch on by doing the writing that was so central to you, but so, if you don't mind my saying, scary to you to do.
Yeah.
And everything else has become easier because you've done, in a way, what was the most important and hardest thing, and you're continuing to do it and putting that first.
You're reminding me of so two things. You're reminding me what, before I took that plunge, I had one of my best friends who had been, a year before she started writing. She's always been a writer, but she finally did what it took for her to write her first novel. And I was getting into, and now she's working on her second one, and I was getting into that place like, oh my God, so jealous. And I would tell her, I love her, and I'm like, I'm so jealous of you. How did you do it? And I didn't want to live like that, but I didn't know how to not be the person who wasn't writing. And so thank God for what we did together and what you helped me see, because I don't know if it ever would have happened otherwise. I would have just sat there and kind of boiled in anger for a little while, for a long time. So it absolutely was a gentle push with very specific guidelines that made sense for my life. You weren't telling me go quit your job and write for 40 hours a week. And you weren't telling me just do it for 10 minutes here and there. We came up with a very specific plan that felt like the right commitment. And you were there for me to do it. I wasn't alone flapping around in it. I was there, texting you, writing right now. And you'd be like, hooray! That made a huge difference. But the other thing you also just reminded me of, when I was doing it, I remember telling you, I think I texted it to you, joy first. That's what came into my mind. That now that I was writing, it was, yes, this has to come first. Not that other things in my life don't bring me joy, but this was the one that fed my soul. And I was willing to stake my, I don't know what on it, but say this demands my attention and my time, and I will say no to other things to do this. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience of the salon and what a difference it's made for you to do that work and continue doing private coaching with me. And I know I always tell you this, but I'm just so thrilled for you to see what you're like after that switch has been flipped, and that the results are just kind of flowing into you, and that, and you didn't say this before, but I'm going to say it for you, you were a published author before of nonfiction. And it actually would never have occurred to me to go back to the nonfiction agent and say, do you also do fiction? But that occurred to you, that just came to you as an idea, and you didn't hold back. You went to her and you asked her, and then when she said, I want to see what you're writing, you bravely turned it over to her really quickly. And she loves it. She wanted to see more. She said, send more. So I can't...
I didn't write any more yet. Just keep writing.
Keep writing. And that's what you're doing now. So I can't wait to see what becomes of that novel, and I'm looking forward to reading it and celebrating you.
I forgot one important thing.
Yeah.
My business is going much better too.
Oh yeah.
That little detail. Both in taking the clarity that I got from the salon around what I like to do, as opposed to also what I just happen to be good at.
Mm-hmm.
I really put I know I keep using this phrase, but put a stake in the ground and said, okay, this is what my business looks like. These pieces of it are still important, so I'm bringing people in. I have now people on staff who can do more of the hands-on work. That's not what I want to be doing as much anymore. And I put out there the things that I really do want to be doing, and people have been coming to me to help them grow and launch their businesses, to come up with creative ideas and write content and brainstorm and come up with creative marketing plans. Like, that's the stuff that I was excited about but didn't know it could actually be a business. But again, through the clarity I got here, even just saying it out loud, saying, wait a minute, why am I spending a minute of my life doing things that I don't want to be doing? And it was as if it opened up the door, and all of these things have come to me and have started happening, and I've just followed them because I have more confidence that that's actually what I do. So that was the other good thing.
Yeah.
Thought it would be good to mention that.
Thank you for mentioning that. And your business is called A Place of Joy, if anyone wants to check out Jennifer on the web. Thanks for this time today, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Okay.
Bye.